In this video, I want to look at reasoning through proportion problems using our initial ways of reasoning, things like tables, number lines, and strip diagrams. So whenever you think about solving proportions, you might think of the method where you set two fractions equal to each other, cross multiply, and then solve. However, there are lots of different ways we can solve these problems. And whenever students solve these problems using other methods, they have an opportunity to think a little more deeply about our operations of things like multiplication and division, and when we might want to apply these operations. It also gives them an opportunity to work with proportional relationships and develop kind of a feel for how quantities can vary together, which is going to be a foundation for learning about linear relationships and functions. So let's start with a basic problem. If Joe's car goes 100 miles for every 4 gallons of gas, then how far can Joe drive on 20 gallons of gas? Well, let's start by looking at how we might be able to solve this problem using a table. So far, I know that he can go 100 miles on 4 gallons of gas. So if he has a total of 8 gallons, then he should be able to go 200 miles, and everything corresponds to this same proportion. 8 plus 4 would be 12. 200 plus 100 is 300. 12 plus 4 is 16. 300 plus 100 is 400. 16 plus 4 is 20. And 400 plus 100 is 500. So we now have our solution that he can go 500 miles on 20 gallons of gasoline. We could also think about this problem with a double number line. Here I have my double number line. I know 100 miles corresponds to 4 gallons. If the distance, this right here is 0, so if the distance from here to here is 4, the distance from here to here must also be 4. From here to here must also be 4. And we can keep going. On the top, if this is 100, then this must be another 100. The distance from here to here is 100. And once again, we can keep going. And just like with our table, we can see that on 20 gallons of gasoline, Joe can go 500 miles. Let's change the problem slightly. If Joe's car goes 100 miles for every 4 gallons of gas, how many gallons of gas would Joe need to go 800 miles? Instead of continuing to add increments of 100 miles and 4 gallons to our table or double number line, we could reason that 800 miles is 2 groups of 400 miles. So if we look at the table, we have 100 miles for every 4. So 200 is 8 gallons, 300 is 12, 400 is 16. And then, like I said, we can assume that we need 2 groups of 400. So we would double our number of gallons as well to get a total of 32 gallons of gasoline for 800 miles. And we could do something similar with our double number line. We could make our tick marks up through 416 and then double it to get 32. Changing it up a little bit, if Joe's car goes 100 miles every 4 gallons of gas, then how far can Joe drive on 15 gallons of gas? We could draw our double number line and kind of fill in some of the missing tick marks between 12 and 16 to get 15. However, I want to look at this a different way. Using our previous tables and double number lines, we know that we can go 400 miles on 16 gallons of gas. So we should be able to reason that we should go a little bit less than 400 miles. In fact, 15 gallons is 1 gallon less. So the question is, how far can we go on 1 gallon? That way we know if we can go 400 miles on 16, it kind of gives us the gap we have between 15 and 16 gallons of gas. Well, one way to do that is if we know 100 miles, for every 4 gallons, and if we break this up evenly, we would have 25 miles for every 1 gallon. So every 1 gallon is 25. So if 16 is 400, then 15 gallons will be 400 minus 25, or 375 miles. We can also use strip diagrams to reason about quantities. So let's consider an example of this. Rose lily perfume is made by mixing rose oil and lily of the valley oil in a ratio of 4:3. So we want to know how many liters of rose oil should be mixed with 24 liters of lily of the valley oil to make rose lily perfume. So here I have my strip diagram. We know we need 4:3 ratio, so I have 4 blocks for rose oil and 3 blocks for lily oil. And we know we have a total of 24 liters here, which tells me that if I divide it evenly into 3 pieces, there will be 8 in each piece. So up here, there must also be 8 in each piece. And so we can see that total, we have 4 times 8, or 32 liters of rose oil.